Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I am so glad you're joining me. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of both inspiration and self-growth. It's also about connection, though, and knowing you are not alone. Every week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, somebody I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so very grateful for my guests and their openness and their vulnerability as we share real and heartfelt conversations and stories together. I hope that you can find some inspiration for your day, just as much as I've been able to by hearing them. Everyone has a story, and every story matters. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. I am Dawn and another amazing guest. I say amazing all the time. I know, but it's true. I'm really, really thankful to have these people invest in their time and come on and tell their stories about all of their stuff. Things that they are open about and vulnerable with are such inspirations to all of us. I think we really build connection by listening to other people as well as telling our stories. So without further ado, my guest today is a successful trainer here in the Middle Tennessee area. Her name is Courtney Ball, and she goes with a company that's her own called C.U.T Fitness, C.U.T. And I want to tell you what that is. I've known about C.U.T Fitness because I've known her for a bit, but I just learned what C.U.T represents in her business, and it totally makes sense for us talking today. Then I was like, okay, thank you. Thank you. Currently under transformation.
Yes.
It's amazing. Courtney is a competitor, but she's also an encourager. She's a group fitness instructor, a personal trainer. We met at CrossFit. She's a CrossFit certified trainer as well. But more than that, I think the cool thing about Courtney is that she's dedicated more than just to the physical layer of everybody, to the overall wellness of the person as a whole. And I think that's kind of rare in some of our physical fitness forums. Maybe it's growing a little bit now, but with Courtney, you get a plethora of information, of wealth, of gift, of wellness on all spectrums and all across the levels. But that wasn't always the way her story was. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Courtney Ball to the show.
Yay! Thank you. I mean, I'm going to keep you in my pocket and make me feel really good about myself. So, yes.
We'll just pull you out like, Courtney's awesome. Yes.
I know,
yes.
right? I'll just listen to this over and over. No, thank you so much for having me. When you text me, I was like, yes, this is your platform. You bring so much light into the world and you have helped me so much. I just believe in what you do. And I truly mean that. So this is great. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Courtney.
I mean that.
Cool. Oh, I appreciate that. And likewise, right back at you, Mom.
Yes.
How's your day been, by the way?
Do what?
How's your day been, by the way? You've been working, you're at the end of your workday now.
I am. It's pretty great. It's stressful to own your own business, but it's also the best thing ever because I'm done halfway through the day because my days start at 4:30 a.m. So my first client's at 5.
Wow.
I am on fall break right now. So my teachers are always my 5 a.m. clients.
Yes.
So during their breaks, they always are like, Courtney, do you have any openings later in the day? And I'm like, gladly, because I would love to sleep in as well. So
exactly.
I'm super blessed, to my business is thriving. And like you said, C.U.T Fitness means currently under transformation. And my logo is a diamond.
Yeah, I see that on your shirt.
Yes, this is it.
Yes.
And actually, one of my clients she does digital art.
Okay.
She made this. She did my logo for me. And so it was the coolest thing. But a diamond, obviously when they find it, it's dirty and it doesn't have the right shape of what the world says it should be and its value. And so that is, when women come to me, because I specialize in women's health,
Okay.
I let them know like, hey, you are priceless.
Yes.
And we might need to dust some things off, polish a little bit, but you are priceless and we get one body. And so, let's do this. Like, so that's where the diamond comes from. And it just means so much to me because I've walked in their shoes.
Yes.
And my business is in my garage.
Yes.
So I do wake up at 4:30, but I make coffee and I walk out the garage door.
Which is nice, because I will say too, we met and I was training. I was a CrossFit instructor at the same gym that you were at.
Yeah.
And gosh, those early mornings having to commute to some places, it's hard.
It is.
It's hard
It's a game changer getting in a cold car in the winter.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got your coffee cup and you walk right out the door and your clients are like, okay, let's go.
It is. I feel so blessed, and I genuinely feel like this is what I'm called to do. And like you shared, like it's been a journey to get here.
Yes.
But now I know that like this was definitely my path, and I handpick my clients, which is such an honor. And they choose me as well, but I only work word of mouth, because I think that if you're brave enough to reach out, they usually, I find 98% of the time, they are ready.
Yes.
And so that's what I do.
Well, I love it. It's your journey, like you were talking about, where you are now, obviously is not where you started. I think that's one of the most intriguing parts about you.
Yes.
Because your perspective is such, we talked about earlier, the wellness, the whole thing, the person as a whole. And
Absolutely.
I love that you handpick your clients. I don't want that to come across as sounding like, oh, I'm very picky.
No, yeah.
That's not it. But it's very precise, because being a personal trainer is a huge involvement with people.
Yes.
You spend a lot of intimate time with people, and you're sharing a lot of your stuff with them just as much as they're sharing with you. So you have to have that give and take. So can you give me just a little bit of some background on where you started and how you got to the decision to train? Because I know it hasn't always been that way for you.
No. Growing up, I played sports and I was active, but I struggled with my weight my whole life, basically. Very much grew up in a family of a little chaos. Okay. My mom became a single mom very early. My dad moved out of state, so I didn't see him as much. Okay. I went through a lot of transition in my life, so there was never consistency.
Got it.
And so I didn't really learn, what that looked like, because I was with my grandparents a lot. Then I was with my mom. Then I would go visit my dad. So there was just, it was all over the place. Mm-hmm. And my mom was a little all over the place as well. So,
and that was your primary caretaker.
Yes, she was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with that, I was home a lot by myself. My mom worked, and if I wasn't there, I was at daycare or after school. So as I got older and I was home by myself, I would eat, and it was one of those things that it's not conscious when you're young. It's a habit that starts forming.
Right.
And obviously I know now that it became a comfort for me, but then it was just what I did when I got home from school and nobody was there. And, so that kind of carried through. I did try all different things when I was growing up of like, Courtney, you should, do this. That would help you. Don't eat bread. Like, my mom kind of bait me in that way of, and I don't think that it was malicious. I think she was doing the best that she could and wanted well for me.
Right.
And didn't want the world to judge me for my weight, per se. But Um, but yeah, so struggled a lot with transition and, just eating my way through
Mm,
my childhood a little bit
mhm,
here and there, and then
mhm.
doing crash diets everywhere in
Yes.
between. Yeah.
Consistency, that's the thing that was
Yes.
super lacking for you. I don't even know, I know we talk about our parents doing the best that they can
Yeah.
for where they are, like, they're meeting their kids with what they have, what they brought
Mhm.
in,
For sure.
basically. So, that lack of consistency wasn't necessarily, like you said, malicious, but and she had to work. I mean, I could feel like a mom being pulled 1,000 different directions.
For
I'm
sure.
not giving a pass, but I'm just,
Yeah.
trying to understand how that affects when you're by yourself and you don't have that information behind you and you don't have that shoulder to lean on, I guess,
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
understands it basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that what do you think is the contributing factor or any of contributing factors to that time in your life where you were eating? Was it out of boredom? Was it out of emotional stuff? Was it, uh, you know,
Yeah.
is can you define what that might have been for you?
No, totally. So, you know, as far as like I played sports and I, had friends, but I mean, I went to two different middle schools and I went to three different high schools.
Wow.
So there was a lot of change in there and a lot of loneliness.
Yes.
And I can now talk to a wall. And I think that helps me so much in what I do, because I can connect with people in a sense of um, my background and then being a social butterfly because I really didn't have a choice if I wanted to have a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but there was a lot of trauma that was in my life as well.
Okay.
My mom struggled with addiction. She still does.
Mhm.
My dad had a lot of dysfunction in his life as well. So there was just that battle of, I had a lot of anger when I was a kid.
Sure.
And my grandparents played a huge role in my life of consistency,
Yes.
where things around me would be chaotic. My grandmother would take care of me a lot,
Mhm.
and she is very healthy. So
Okay,
it's
good.
like I did see that where my grandmother played tennis and she did bowling and
Uh-huh.
she did all kinds of stuff. And during the summer, when she had me, she would take me to the gym with her. She did 3 days a week at the gym. And so I would walk with her and I would watch her lift weights. And, it was just, she was a huge like part of my life to say, eventually, as I got older, I was like, I really want to be like mom. That's what I called her is mom.
Okay.
And so I did see wellness, but I didn't walk in it until much later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you made some serious changes then and some serious decisions to
Yeah.
change that path. I think it's interesting because I unfortunately I don't think that you're in the minority of people that are in that place of loneliness or trauma
Mm.
or boredom or
Yes.
whatever the root behind emotional kind of eating or just
Mm.
not not great self-care is
Right.
concerned. So when did you decide that, okay, enough is enough?
Yeah.
I need to make a change. Like what was the serious whoa point for you?
Yeah. And there was like a few of those leading up to true lifestyle change where, um, like in my 20s, I remember I saw, when you print your pictures, which a lot of people don't do, they're just like on your phone, on your social
Yeah.
media. But there's something when you hold a picture and you see yourself and you're like, that's what I look like. That's what the
Yeah.
world sees. And trying to find plus size clothing, then plus size clothing's come a long way, ladies. Thank goodness. But
Yes.
back then it was expensive.
Yeah.
And, I was a size 18
Oh, wow.
at my biggest. And so, I'm like trying to find clothes to wear and I just didn't feel great. in my own skin.
Yeah.
And, so there was that like in my 20s. And then my late 20s, I had my daughter,
Okay.
and she's 10 now. But when I was pregnant with her, because of my food drive, um,
Mm.
I really took that whole eat for two. Like I was like, here we
Bring
go.
it.
Like,
Let's
yes.
go.
Like, because that's what the world tells you. What
Yes.
they don't tell you is, hey, if you are already struggling with obesity and overeating, disorder, you, let's talk about that, because you
Yes.
actually don't need to eat more.
Yeah.
And that is, because we have more fat in our body already, but
Right.
people don't educate women, which we'll totally get to. But
Yes.
so I had her, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I've gained 70 pounds.
Yeah.
So I was weighing 240 at 5'2". Um,
And your body was
in
probably saying, "What's
her,
happening?"
yes.
Yeah.
And I had done Weight Watchers. I
Mhm.
thought that, you know, diet food was salad. And so I would just eat salad all the time. And I'll never forget sitting on the couch. I remember it so vivid. And I'd already eaten dinner. And so I'd, go, and we were going to watch TV or whatever. And I was so hungry counting these points.
Oh.
And the only thing I had left for my points was to eat more salad. And I cried.
Oh,
I was crying
yeah.
because I was hungry, and I was like, I don't want to eat lettuce.
Yeah.
And so then I quit. Why would I don't want to eat like that, and be so hungry. I'm crying,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so I would quit. I'd always be like, okay, I'm going to be a runner. Like I'm going to start running. And then I would quit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'll just try not eating. That goes well.
Yeah.
like,
Right.
that's great.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it was just this merry-go-round that I did want to get off of,
Mhm.
but I genuinely thought I'm going to have gastric bypass. Like there's no way for me to stop eating.
It
And I
sounds to
just,
me
yeah,
it sounds to me like what you're explaining is your childhood is the inconsistencies. That's what you were
yes,
taught.
exactly.
So that's all that you knew.
Yeah,
So
totally.
how unbelievably sound is it of you to get to a point where you finally and yeah, one of my guests from a previous podcast and that I'll post maybe I've already posted it. Um she is a nutritionist and a dietitian here in Nashville, and she is
Mine too.
yeah, it's a test of the emergency
We're
brake.
live, guys.
Everybody's good.
Everyone's good.
We're
Yeah.
all good. But what her focus is on anorexia nervosa and
Mm,
bulimia nervosa. So
mm,
the issue I think that doesn't get as much coverage
mm.
is the overeating, the
Yes.
binge eating as
Yes.
a disorder.
Yes.
It's prevalent.
Yes.
And there's so many things behind it
That's right.
that we're covering up when we're doing it.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's because we don't. And then as women, a lot of us have children, and
Yes.
then we gain more weight. And for me, I was like, this is not the mom I want to be.
Yes.
And I would try to, I would sit in the swings beside her, and my hips would hurt because I couldn't fit in them.
Yeah.
And then I would be carrying laundry upstairs, and I'd be out of breath. And I'm like, I don't want to live like this. I do not want to live like this.
No. Mm-mm.
And but no one talked about overeating, but at this time, the biggest loser. So the
Oh
biggest
gosh.
loser is
I
on
forgot.
TV. Oh yes. And I'm watching it, eating pizza, Dawn. I'm
Wow.
this
I'm
is
loving this. Oh,
this is
wow.
real life. So me and my partner were both overweight, and it was I would watch this show drinking a beer, eating pizza. No joke. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I ended up getting pregnant with our second child. And right before that, we were watching a show, and this man named Abel James was on there.
Okay.
And he is called the Fat Burning Man. And so the show would go through different diets and different things. And all these people were obese and they all struggled with overeating. And it
Okay.
was the first thing that I'd seen that I was like, that guy's not eating a salad.
Yeah.
I'm like, me and my partner at the time, like, we should like try that. And guess
Okay.
what, Dawn? They were eating real food. They were eating like, whoa, they
Yeah.
were, they were having, steak and
They were having a
chicken
meal.
and shrimp and,
Mhm.
and they were having grass-fed butter and they were
Yes.
eating. And not one time did he say to him, we need to make sure you're counting your calories. Like,
Mhm.
he naturally became in a deficit of wellness and eating real food because nobody eats an apple and is like, gosh, like I should probably go have another one. Like, not usually,
Yeah.
like versus if I eat pizza, or, it's stereotypical. I'm using pizza, but
Yeah.
things like that it's like you tend with chips to overeat and want
Right.
more.
Right.
And so it was then like we ordered his book.
Okay.
We dove into podcast.
Okay.
I started just being like, you know what? And I was pregnant with Wilder at that time.
Mhm.
And so during my pregnancy with my son, I only gained 10 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And it was
What a
because
difference.
it was crazy. And listen, not one day did I count a calorie. Not one day did
Oh,
I write down what I was eating.
yeah.
But what we did was we started eating real food
Mhm.
that grew from a tree,
Yes.
from the earth,
Yes.
and we limited, things that a man made.
Right.
So, we just dove into that. So we would, even now with my clients, I ask myself, I say, okay, guys, did it have eyes? Where did it grow? Who made it?
Oh, I love it.
And if
That's
you
some
ask
very easy
yourself,
questions to answer.
that's right. And every one of them have to ask themselves that before they order, before they make a plate.
Yeah.
If it had eyes, it was alive
Yes.
at one time,
Yeah.
right? And where did it grow? Like if I ask myself that, I know that it's going to be real whole foods.
Yes.
And then who made it is that part that we're going to limit.
Yeah.
And I, for the first time, did not have stomach issues. I
Wow.
didn't feel like food was controlling me anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't have reflux.
Yeah.
I wasn't sick all the time. I didn't really feel too bloated. Like, I just started to realize that diet food that's not a thing. Like, you
Right.
can't live on diet.
Right.
And that was it for me. I was like, all right, I'm doing this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
plus, it just wrecks your brain.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
just messes with you.
totally.
I mean, if you are on I have an eating disorder history, and I
Mhm.
remember being
Yeah.
so consumed in my brain
Yeah.
with what I was eating, when I was eating it, how much I was eating,
Mhm.
all of the stuff, and I wasn't really living in my present moment.
That's
So
right.
the mental side of it for me was a big, just as much a big thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh
I
gosh.
I had struggled, my whole life with depression and
Mhm.
anxiety and just it was crippling panic attacks sometimes. And, just when I changed my food, my gut changed as well. And I started reading up more on that and, how that affected my brain.
Yes.
And I still take medicine. I believe in medication. Um, Absolutely talk to your doctors, talk to your, psychiatrist, like all those things. But I don't believe in just doing one.
Right.
And that is what I had done for so many years. I did just one. Um, Started going to therapy, like started healing a lot of that inner child within me.
Yeah.
And when you heal inside, the outside changes.
Oh, amen.
Yes.
Amen. I had
Yeah.
a coworker that and it was in a small gym. I had a coworker that his client was saying she was there 3 or 4 days a week with him,
Mm.
couldn't lose weight, keeping a food log, doing the whole thing. And he was trying to get that approach to her as well. And I remember
Yeah.
he and I having lunch one day and sitting and talking about, he was like, what can I do to help? Like, I just give me some more, like an outsider's perspective here. And I was like, I don't know. Just, we talked. He said, you know what? I'm going to encourage her to go to therapy,
Yes.
and I'm going to take her out of my schedule for those 3 days. I'm going to say, spend that money one
Yes.
time that you were going to see me, come see me twice a week, take that money that you were spending for 3 times a week and go to a therapist. Do you know, without changing anything else, therapy one time a week for her was all she needed. And at the end of that month, she lost 10 pounds
That's right.
without changing anything.
Yeah.
She unloaded a bunch of shit.
That's right. Yes.
Just
Like,
let it go.
let it go. Yes.
We underestimate the power of our brain and the stuff that happens to us and what it does to our insides. And then what our coping mechanisms that we go to, whether it's
Right.
food, alcohol,
Yeah.
drugs, anything that we
Yes.
do in excess, it wrecks everything. So I love that you go at this with like I said earlier, a multi-prong approach for health and wellness.
Mhm.
It's really what makes you a whole person.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't know that any of us could get to that point. I don't think you could have gotten to that point without the experience you had
Yes.
as a child.
Yeah, for sure. It plays a huge role. And the thing with, obesity or having, overeating, is that ours is visible
Uh-huh.
and the world doesn't give anyone grace for that. I think that the world is changing. I do believe that. But I also think there's a balance in wellness and body composition, just not to go on a rant with that. But anyways, but I'm
No,
like,
I know what you mean.
I,
Yeah, for sure.
I approach mind, body, soul.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I work with any of my clients and myself is our mind.
Okay.
And so if that's like going to therapy, I ask them to read books. They journal.
Yes.
And I always tell them, I say, it might be one line or 5. What serves you that day?
Yeah.
And gratitude.
Yes.
And so, I add to their lives and we limit what is taken away.
Yes.
Because when you overeat, if you go to someone that has overeat the whole life, and you tell them you can only have chicken and asparagus, we will rebel so hard. I'm like, dude, I'm going to Burger King.
Yeah.
Like, not happening.
Yeah.
It's like we naturally have a rebellious spirit when there's been trauma involved, or when you go through divorce, or you lose a child or have a miscarriage, or all the things that women carry, or a mama that her husband really doesn't help her much at home and she's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, we don't dive into those things. So guess what? A lot of these women, they have time to themselves on their commute and they eat in their car.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so I try to just dive into those things of like, hey, let's feed our mind a little bit more. That carries into their body composition, just like that lady. Her body composition changed because she worked on her mind.
Yes.
And then our soul brings more light into the world because we feel more confident. And it's just,
love it. Yeah.
I just don't approach my business with not one of my clients track their food.
Yeah.
Unless they request that.
Okay.
Because I do not, someone that has had an eating disorder, overeating, it can be very, especially binge eating disorder, it can be very triggering to log. to
Yes.
right. Like, so that rebellious spirit can come back
Right.
of their comfort is like taken away. So they're like, nope, I'm not going to do that, you know? So
Yeah.
I do it very slow, very controlled, and with grace.
Yes.
They know I still overeat. I will have moments where I'm like, I'm struggling today.
Hmm.
I'm struggling, and then, but now I know that seesaw, when that seesaw goes down, I've learned to push off now.
Yes.
And for all those years, I would just stay down.
Yeah.
And I
It
did not know how
helps.
to push off. I just quit.
Yeah.
I just quit. And I would just be like, I'm just going to sit in it and just keep eating or drinking or whatever it was.
Hmm.
And I teach them on the seesaw, I'm going to sit with you
Yeah.
and I'm going to help push you up and down. But eventually, I'm going to teach you how to push off on your own.
Yes.
Yeah,
They're going to get those tools.
that's
You're
right.
giving them those tools. I
Yes.
love the piece of feed the mind first. I think
Yes.
that's brilliant. It's such a refreshing perspective when we talk about food.
Yeah.
Um, and thank you for that information on the binge eating.
Yeah,
The trigger makes complete sense when you say it out
it
loud.
does. Mhm.
And like you expressed, it's something that you don't get away. Like people see it.
That's
They can
right.
see
Yeah.
you overeating. They can see it on you. You
Mhm.
wear that
Yeah.
in your weight, in the way you carry yourself. So it's not
Mhm.
something that you can hide from.
That's right.
No.
Yeah. And the world, I share with my clients so much, like,
Mhm.
it is fact that the world treats me different now.
How?
When people open doors for me that
Yeah.
did not before.
Wow, Courtney.
I started an Instagram page when I knew that, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm for real changing my life. Like, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
So it was the first time that I actually had my partner even take a picture of me because I did want to see myself and how my body composition was changing. And I started
Mhm.
loving fitness and I
Yeah.
started loving moving my body and my mind, and my body started craving it.
Yes.
And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I started an Instagram page and people started following me and I shared my journey. I still share my journey, not as much anymore because I opened a small business and I
Yes.
have 2 kids and I'm
Yes.
like, shoot,
You're
I
all
should
busy.
post. I should probably post. But people would direct message me that never
Okay.
talked to me before.
Ah,
People that knew me but had never really talked to me before. And it was body dysmorphia and all of
mm,
that really goes into play. And it can go both ways where, you know, looking at yourself and not seeing that you have lost the weight.
yeah. Yeah.
What size am I now? And like I had to go back to therapy to work on those things to say, oh, okay, like this is who I am now.
Yes.
And I had to learn that people do treat you different when you're not obese. And it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And I go out of my way now to smile at somebody. Now, I smile at a lot of people, but I will purposely, mindfully smile at someone that is overweight that I'm in Target with,
Yeah.
or I will purposely help them
Yeah.
because people treat them different and it is absolute crap.
Yeah. I
And I know the other
totally
side
agree.
of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, like, we've got to do better. Like, we've got to love these people because a lot of them do want to change and they are struggling with overeating and they are not lesser than because they do,
Correct.
so.
And they may lack that confidence and that
Mm,
ability to speak up for themselves
that's right.
because of that. And then
That's
we're
right.
not giving them support as a community
Right.
because we have a preconceived notion about them.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a friend that said she worked really hard to lose weight.
Mhm.
She lost maybe 35 pounds. And
Mhm.
it morphed her body into something completely different. She felt great, but she struggled, just like you said,
Mhm.
struggled with the new
Yes.
exterior look and how people were treating her.
Yes.
And it
It's
was
very
really
real.
daunting because she's like, I realized how much I was pushed to the side
Yes.
for the way I looked.
Mhm.
And she had to do a lot of therapy and a lot of
Mhm.
counseling and a lot of elbow grease work around that for
Yeah.
herself.
And there's no, I always say, like, I'm going to write a book. There's no book
You
out
should.
there. I don't, there's no book out there that is like, this is what it's like after you lose 75, 100 pounds, 150, 200 pounds of the skin that you have,
Yeah.
of the mindset that you go through, people treating you different.
Mhm.
Like, your marriages are different.
Yes.
Like, your friends are different. Like, I mean, people, there is nothing out there right now that I have found that is information to walk through that.
Yeah.
And especially if, like, for some people, if your partner doesn't go with you, or if they do, then you're, there's just it's such a complex thing to go through.
Absolutely.
Um, so I really try to empower, see, and seek for them, for my clients and for myself, like, let's do this and this, let's walk through this. And I see you,
Yeah.
so.
Do you share your stuff with them as a trainer? I mean, I know you said earlier you're pretty transparent about who
Yes.
you are, but
Mhm.
like say you had a day where you were like, okay, it was over the weekend and I binged and I
Yep.
it kind of went back into my stuff. Do you share that with your clients?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Because I truly believe without vulnerability, there cannot be growth.
Yeah.
And I tell them from day one, at first, they sit in, they come in the garage, we sit, and, I work with lifestyle, right? Like the whole person.
Mhm.
Some of my clients do both with me, and then I have lifestyle nutrition clients as well.
Okay.
So I meet with them face to face once a month. And then and they work out on their own, and they're accountable to me for that and themselves. But then my other clients I see weekly, 2, 3 days a week, and they're accountable to working out on their own. But
Mhm.
the moment that they come sit in front of me, they see this body.
Mhm.
So, by the end of that hour that we walk through lifestyle and start peeling the onion,
Mm.
and there is
Mhm.
a lot of tears in my
Mm.
garage, a lot. And that is the difference in group fitness, which is where I started,
Mhm.
to leading to opening my own business, because my clients need more of that intimate, safe setting
Yes.
to cry while they lift weights
Yes.
and to come in and say, I've never worn shorts before.
Wow.
Dawn, the day they walk up wearing shorts, I
Do you
am
like
like, yes,
get the
yes.
confetti and streamers out? Let's do it.
I'm like, wear the shorts. Like,
Yes.
wear the shorts.
Oh.
Like, I get to see that. And it is the biggest blessing. But on the
Mhm.
flip side of that, they also come in and I say, they'll share, what's going on with them or whatever. And I'll be like, yeah, like, I totally ate ice cream this weekend, like, overate it. Nothing is wrong with ice cream. I
Yeah.
don't want people to think that but like, my go to binge food is chocolate.
Okay.
And so I try not to have it in the house because my home is my safe place.
Right.
So I try to do it where if I have chocolate or if I have a bunch of sugar or cake or whatever it is for me, to have it in an experience where I'm like with the kids
Yeah.
out. It's a birthday. It's my birthday. It's, fall
Yes.
break. Like
Yeah.
but sometimes it'll creep in and I will absolutely eat a shit ton of ice cream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and so I tell them, hey, I'm like super depressed these last
Mhm.
few weeks
Mhm.
and I'm struggling to work out.
Yeah.
And right now I went for a walk today and that, so like I didn't lift weights or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
like I absolutely tell them,
I think it's great. And
yeah,
that's that testament to
yeah,
transparency.
yes,
I mean, I see
Yeah.
you see me. I'm
Mhm.
going to give you that part of
Yes.
me because
Really.
you are, like you said, vulnerability. You're being vulnerable and open enough to walk through this door
Yeah.
and open yourself up to peeling the layers of the onion.
That's right. I found in this industry also, um, most trainers have never been overweight. And I use, let me explain before we get, um,
I know what you mean, but yes, please
so
explain.
let me say they have 50, 70, 100 pounds to lose. Okay. I mean, like into obesity of high cholesterol and all of the diabetes, all of those things, right? They grew up D1 athletes. They, have sports psychology degrees. They have 500 certifications. They have,
Mhm.
and so I found as I'm walking into a CrossFit gym as an athlete for the first time, the YMCA for the first time, that none of those people looked like me. In
Yeah.
my knowledge, that they never did. And as
Yes.
I got to know them, I was like, okay, like you haven't.
Yeah,
Like
you're
you
right.
and you love my story and you are now those people that were in my life, man, my first CrossFit gym, I was scared out of my mind. They like reached out to me on Instagram.
Yes.
And when I moved to Tennessee, like I lived in Georgia, moved back to Tennessee, they're like, you should come to our gym. I'm like, absolutely not. Like
No.
you've lost your mind. I run and I lift weights at the YMCA. Thank you very much.
And that's
You
all.
know,
I'm good.
I'm
I'm
not
good.
doing that. And they're like, no, come. And they invested and loved and, just believed in me. And they knew that I just had a heart to reach out to women that had looked like me.
Yes.
And that's totally different when you've never really struggled with binge eating or overeating or had a lot of trauma,
Mhm.
depression, anxiety, things that can really cripple a human, whether you have a larger body composition or not.
Yeah.
And that was another reason to start Cut Fitness is I wanted women to know, like, I see you and I've been you.
Well, and you're constantly under transformation because they
Yes.
could, like you said, they could go through a divorce next month.
Yes.
They could go through death of a family member next year.
Yes.
How well are you equipped to handle that mind, body, and soul?
Absolutely.
So you want to arm yourself with as much as you possibly can in your
Mm.
toolkit, as much
Yeah.
as you can in your cellular kit, if you will,
Yeah.
to know, hey, this is what I need to take care of myself. I think it's a really brilliant thing that you're coming at it from that way. And I'm gonna say
Thank
it again
you.
because it needs to be said again. Feeding your mind is as the number one
Mm.
element
Yeah.
is so important.
Mm.
It's so important. Our
Yeah.
brain is so complex and we use what?
Yeah.
10% of it?
Wow. Yes. Yeah.
Gosh.
It's crazy. As even with me, like I've had to study and listen and learn and read. Of course, I still am, forever will be. But now I've like taken all these nutrition classes and now I'm very educated in gut health. Like I look up medications now and I'm not certified in that, but like to see just like, hey, okay, from my knowledge, these interact and these are some foods that can help depression.
Yes.
These are some foods that can help anxiety, but I didn't know any of that. Like I've
Mm.
had to dive into that, have mentors. Like I met you, like,
Oh.
that you could help me with the heart center of it all. Because we all are broken in different ways. And just because, some people come through the door too and they need to become stronger, you know, they're not overweight or they're not, but like they can't lift weights. And then I have my amazing 70-year-old clients
Oh.
that, find me and I don't have favorites. My favorites.
Well, no,
But I do. I love my seniors. I love them. Like
yes.
like they bring life into me when they walk through the garage door.
Yes.
And teaching them about, hey, sit to stand correctly. Like they lift weights. I talk to them about food, even though usually they're like, Courtney, I'm not going to eat that. I'm like, okay, fine. You're 76, whatever.
You can do
Like, like, I'm like, will you just eat a little bit more protein today?
Right.
And then
We're choosing our battles there.
That's
Yeah.
right. Like, yeah. So it's, my youngest client is almost 30 right now. And then my oldest is 76.
Oh, that's
And
a
it's just the
huge
coolest.
spectrum.
It's awesome.
Huge
Yeah,
spectrum.
it really is.
Do
Yeah.
you, it's just totally off of the line of questions that I sent
Mhm.
you, but do you find in that spectrum of age, do you
Mhm.
find one demographic suffers more than another?
Um,
Or do you think it's pretty equal across the board?
I feel like, how like a lot of people say, it's like we all have different hearts
Mhm.
where, my 60 and over clients are like, oh man, their joints hurt.
Yes.
And they are seeing themselves mature and not be a little bit more tired.
Yeah.
Their time, they realize, is so much more precious,
Yes.
and they want to be with their family more, and um they cry in sessions for different things. Like sometimes it's because they're getting older, and arthritis is it's really painful and uncomfortable. And then sometimes, my 30-year-old client who has postpartum and a toddler running around, and she's crying because she just needs sleep.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Just give me 8 hours straight.
just needs
I'll be a
sleep.
different
And
person.
they're nursing, so
Yeah.
I'm, helping them in that spectrum and just loving them and reassuring them that, like, you are an amazing mom.
Yeah.
To my seniors who I'm like, you are also enough and an amazing mom, and so really it is pretty much our heart is just different in that moment.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Totally.
Mhm.
Totally makes sense. Do you think that your journey, do you think that your journey has gotten you to this point of understanding and awareness for other people? Or do you think that that was kind of an innate thing in you that you were going to develop anyway? I
Yeah.
mean, tell me how much you invest in how your process has shaped you to be where you are now.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, just yes is the answer. Like I think that I do believe that I was destined to be here. I knew from a young age, like I wanted to break generational curses, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Like I knew that I was not going to walk down a path of alcoholism or drugs or, I was like, I am going to be different
Mm-hmm.
than some of these people around me. And I was like, I'm going to better myself and don't tell me I can't.
Yeah.
And I very much, that was like embedded in me. Like, if you tell me no, then I'm going to go do it twice.
Yeah.
Like, no. And that got me in trouble sometimes. And then it was like really great. And sometimes, and so, but I've always been like super driven to say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
And I have brought that to fruition in my life because I'm like, my dad did teach me, I will say, the no excuses. Like,
Mm.
yes, you've been through a lot. Yes, but you can come out of it if you're brave enough to walk through it
Yeah.
and do the work. And I think sometimes you just got to be like sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Yeah.
and for me, it was that. I'm like, I want to get on the right medication. I want to seek out, different therapists. I think a big thing I share with people too is that you need to shop around therapists.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they are in network doesn't
Doesn't
mean
mean.
I'm like, guys,
Yeah.
you need to shop around. Like, you need to find the person that you connect to. I want you to shop around trainers too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to it's not a one size fits all for wellness.
Right.
But I do think your journey through my childhood and things like that, of moving a lot and seeing this is the way I want to parent. And these are the people that I want to mimic,
Yes.
and rise up above. Like,
Yes.
and so being a mom was a goal for me. Like, it was cherished for me. Like, I didn't know if it was going to be through adoption or through birth or whatever, but I knew that I wanted to be the best woman to rear the children that I felt were destined for me. So, yeah.
Oh, I love it, Courtney. That's awesome. Do you feel that your clients, well, obviously, here's the thing. They have support with you, but do you think that when they leave you, because that was a big thing when I was training, I
Yes.
get X amount of hours with them a week
That's right.
and we're face to face and it's like you talk about like stick you in my pocket. I won't pull you out when I need you, right?
Yes.
But like, how do you tell them if they don't have that external support? Because your family is super supportive, your partner
Mhm.
and your kids, you guys are an
Yes.
active household.
Yes.
You're very engaged with each other and each other's interests and each other's
Absolutely.
lives.
Yes.
You really, really, you got each other's backs on
Yep.
everything. And I
For
think
sure.
that's something that it's missing in a lot of households.
Absolutely.
So with you, what would you say to one of your clients that doesn't necessarily have that support or that you can do it? Like if you're on the verge of wanting to change, being tired of being sick and tired, like you said,
Mm. Yeah.
but they just don't have someone to say, I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to walk through this together.
Yeah.
Where do you tell them to go for that?
Yeah. Well, I tell them too. I'm like, you're the sum of the 5 people you're around most, right?
Yeah.
So, we talk about, because some of them, are single and
Yeah.
they don't want to cook because I'm cooking for one.
One. Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
right? And then I have some that are in new relationships, and most people in a new relationship, guess what, guys? First 2 years, you both gaining 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And if you're already, struggling with weight and things like that, like, that love weight, that freshman 15, that,
Yeah.
there's always like something. So I walk them through tools to say, okay, I call it a 10-minute pause for them.
Okay.
So if they are craving something or they feel like, you know what, the lunch that I packed, I don't want it.
Hmm.
I don't want it today. I want to go eat with all the girls at Mexican restaurant, right? I want to go do that. I want to go drink margaritas. It's Friday. But what I teach them is that we have to have balance,
Hmm.
because before we had Mexican every week, margaritas all the time, and, blah, 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 blah. So I teach them that we have to plan out our week and that we can't live in all and all. I need everything, 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 you
Yes.
know. And so I'm like, okay, if we look at these next 7 days and that you have a birthday party to go to, or as we're about to have, it's about to be Halloween,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, everybody having a party, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, is your Tuesday night, you know, X food worth it? Or is it my party with all my friends on Saturday worth it
Yeah. It's
to have
choosing.
some food freedom?
Hmm.
Right? So
Hmm.
take that pause, check in with yourself, go into like, because my brain, right? Like I'm teaching them to rep it out. Like they don't think about putting their pants on anymore. We don't think about brushing our teeth anymore.
Hmm.
And our brain doesn't like to be uncomfortable.
Mm.
So they've never taken a pause in
Yeah.
a long time. So I'm teaching them to brush their teeth with their left hand. Like they're brushing their teeth with their left hand. Like I'm trying to retrain their brain to pause before they order,
Yeah.
pause before they go. Ask yourself, is this worth it?
Yes.
Like, and so retraining their brain, that's why everybody's like, well, I just want to be keto and just blah and whatever. And I'm like, guess what, guys? That you didn't retrain your brain.
Yeah. You didn't do anything
You
to
you
help
didn't
with
do
that weight.
anything, because as soon as
Mhm.
you stop taking the pill, as soon as you're not keto, as soon as you're not whatever, you never fix the source of
Mm.
the soul, right?
It's
Of the
oh,
mind. So I tell them, we're going to pause. We're going to check in with ourselves. right?
Yeah.
And did I plan for this? Is this my food freedom worth it? Because I don't believe in cheat days. Like what the I mean, then you're labeling a food as bad.
Yes.
And it's like, no. And so I hope earlier, I use pizza or whatever. But I'm like, for some people it's like popcorn.
Yeah.
Like some people, it could be whatever it is, but it needs to be planned out for food freedom, like
Mhm.
in a worth it moment. And
Yeah.
so I ask them to pause, check in, things. I give them different tools like that. Because a lot of us don't even know what it feels like to be hungry. We just eat
Yeah.
out of habit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We eat in the car. You said that earlier. We
Oh
eat while
man,
we're
the
moving.
mindless eating is out of
Yeah.
control. Yeah.
Yes. It's
Mhm.
unconscious eating.
Yeah.
Totally unconscious eating. But I love the pause thing. I think you bring a good point to that. People don't pause.
No,
We don't pause because we're uncomfortable a lot of times pausing.
that's right. Yeah.
Because when you pause, it slows everything down and we're in such a constant state of go, go, go.
Yes.
And a lot of that is, okay, so there's two sides of the coin. There's the stuff that has to get done, depending on where you are in your life and your
Yeah.
season. But there's also an avoidance mechanism that kicks in when we go, go,
Right.
go. And then you could be avoiding trauma. You could be avoiding information that your body's trying to desperately tell you about your
Mhm.
health and about your mind. And a lot of that avoidance is in an effort to I just don't want to go there.
Yeah. We just disassociate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is like a self-preservation thing of we do not like to be uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And so, I always tell them, I'm like, hey, we are rewiring your brain.
Yes.
It is not a microwave. Like
Yeah.
I started my journey in 2016. Like it, I'm still doing it. I'm still repping.
Yeah.
I'm still like, okay, habit. Now, is it easier? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I think about it less? Yes. Because I know the other side of when I didn't feel well,
Yeah.
when my sadness would overtake me more often than not,
Yeah.
when I would just disassociate and not care and
Mm.
not get off the merry-go-round for
Mhm.
years. But now I can pause and reflect, then go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it gives a shape, a different shape to
Yeah.
the next step you take.
That's right.
Mhm. And it gives a freshness to it. And it just the whole thing. I love again, I know I've said it throughout this whole conversation, but I love the addressing the mind first and the body second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a byproduct. Like you buying like smaller clothes, your body composition is the bonus of fixing your mind.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yes.
Like, and that's what
All
I
day.
tell them. I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, like it will happen. Your body's gonna change
Yes.
if you eat real food.
Yes.
That's the thing.
You
Like,
find well, and I used to find it the impatience factor
yes.
is
Oh,
big.
for sure.
And we're gosh, a guest said it last week. We are a microwave society. Like we want it
100%.
now. Go, go,
Yeah.
go. I want it now. And when I get
Yeah.
there, I want this. And then when I get there, there's never a satisfaction.
Mhm.
And just like you said, a pausing and just kind of realizing where you are. But
Mhm.
that impatience thing is that's a big deal. How
Yeah.
do you help your clients through that one? That's
Yeah.
a hard one.
Well, and a lot of them, we work from home, right? A lot of people work from home now. And so the refrigerator's right there. So I did like it's right there. Like
Preach. Yeah.
where before we have Uber Eats, we have delivery, you like convenience. I mean, I tell you, Don, one of their also things that I add to their life is grounding. And so
Oh,
I
I love
ask
that.
them to take their shoes off every day and walk outside.
Yes.
And they're like, "What if it's cold?" And I'm like, "Even better."
Do it.
I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And they just look at me like, "I have to go outside barefoot?" Like we
Yes.
don't even walk barefoot anymore, Dawn. Like we don't everybody wears shoes. Like everybody and I'm like, "Guys, we have got to pause and ground ourselves
Yeah.
And so I'll tell them, I say, okay, start with walking to the mailbox to get your mail barefoot.
Yeah.
Or go, just sit. I have a egg chair and
Okay.
I love it. And I'll just go sit in it or whatever. And so, I'll try to get them into just redirection,
Mm-hmm.
just like we do with children.
Yeah.
Like we have to go back
Yes.
to that to be like, hey, that microwave or oven is not safe. I'm
Yeah.
going to redirect you to safety.
Yeah.
And if, that's what I coach them through is
Yeah.
I'm here to redirect you
Yeah.
and I'm going to hold your hand for a long time and then I'm going to let you go.
Oh,
So
it's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. This is a great business that you're in. And I just want to talk to you privately off camera when we get off, because I've got so many all these ideas just popping in my head about what you're talking about. I love it.
Yeah.
But where do you see yourself a year from now?
Oh man. I've kind of like fallen in love with like working with seniors.
Okay.
I have, my grandmother played a huge role in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that I love being with them. And I just believe that it is a place where not a lot of people help. Like they don't go into nursing homes. Like they
Yeah.
don't think, and you might be 65, but you got a lot of years still ahead of you.
Yes.
And you want them to be the best. Like you're not done. You are not forgotten. Yeah. And so I do see myself working with seniors more.
Okay.
The other thing that I teach my clients a lot about is my younger ones before like going into menopause, nobody teaches you about our cycles. Nobody digs into that of I am hungrier in this phase of my cycle until I go into menstruation, when I'm in follicular phase or ovulation phase. So I teach them about their hormones as well, and
They
food
don't know
drives.
that. You're right.
No, people start, they start their period and their mom's like, here's a pad.
Yeah.
Like, like I just blow.
Okay, how does this happen?
It blows my mind. But no one teaches them that there are phases of our hormones that we go through. And then we hit menopause and people are like, it's crazy. It's, like you're just like, and I got hot flashes and all this stuff going on. I'm like, guys, but if I taught you in your teens and 20s and 30s about your cycles, then when you go into perimenopausal and you go into, our later years where we are through menopause, no one talks about that.
Yeah, they don't. You're correct.
Yeah.
They don't at all.
So,
How about 10 years from now? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
all I can think is like that my daughter is going to be 20.
Ah!
I'm like,
what was your
no, ma'am. Like 20 and 17. Like, no.
Oh, it's
and I know that's
unfathomable.
It's crazy. Yeah, just because I know, like yours, being in college, going to college, like I'm just like, they're just babies.
Your little people
like,
are growing
I just
up.
want to put them in my pocket. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I don't know. I see myself obviously, one of my kiddos will be a senior pretty much. I think that's right. But my mother, she'll be in college or doing whatever her journey is. And I don't know, like probably continuing to invest even more in my education and still growing my business and maybe branching out a little bit to doing more like podcast and, being able to spend more time having more content.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
I really genuinely love to write a book. Like I really would, because
There's multiple books inside of you from everything you just said here from our conversation.
I know, I'm like, how much time do we have, Dawn, on your podcast?
We can go. I don't have to be anywhere for a couple more hours.
It's okay. It's okay. It's totally fine. It's fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So before it kind of is a wrap it up. Before we go,
Yeah.
I know we get into some deep stuff a lot of
Yeah.
times in these podcasts, which is what I like. I think it's an invaluable thing to kind of stop and pause, like you said, and just look at some things from maybe another element, another side. But I do want to keep it kind of lighthearted at the end and bring a little bit more of your personality out with some rapid fire questions. So
Yes. Okay.
you are privy to these. I did send these to you, but
I'm ready.
but I can't wait to hear what you say. I'm going to go with the second one to start tonight.
Okay.
What time do you usually wake up in the morning? But you already said that.
I do. You might have to give me one, like off the cuff. Like, I don't know. I get up at 4:30. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I should ask what time you go to bed.
Oh, don't ask that, John, because then, I mean, it's because I talk about sleep all the time. Like, you have to go to sleep. You have to go to sleep. And then I tell them, I'm like, look, I need to go to sleep too. Okay.
So you strive for a certain amount of hours.
Yes. I strive to be in bed horizontal at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I wish it was earlier because, like, true, on the weekends, like, I hit a wall. By Thursdays, I'm like, I just really need sleep. Like, when I'm putting the kids to bed, my partner will come wake me up because I fall asleep with the kids. I put them to bed at 7:30.
Okay.
And so I always fall asleep with them.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a thing. So, and I do cherish that time because in 10 years, I'm not
17 and 20, not going to want you to tuck them in.
Dang it. No. So, yeah. So, 10 should be earlier. Everybody go to bed earlier if you wake up at 4:30.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Marking that. Yes.
Do as I say. No.
Okay. Next question. Do you karaoke?
Yes. And it's hilarious that you asked me this.
Why?
Because my family loves karaoke.
Really?
I grew up going to karaoke bars.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, yes. I always cherished memories. I have many. My grandmother always sang Patsy Cline Crazy.
Oh,
I have so many videos. My mom karaoke. We had a karaoke thing in my house.
Whoa.
So when I read that you were asking me that, I just like laughed out loud. And I was like, yeah, of course.
Well, then, okay. What's your go-to song? Your go-to song?
My song is a song called Electric Feel. Have you ever heard of it? It's MGMT is the band, and it's so old, but I used to sing it when I was younger. My mom would always make me sing Jody Messina.
Yeah.
Like, hey, listen, I'm like the one person in my whole family. I cannot sing to save my life, but I sure will karaoke, girl.
I love that. Awesome. We have Halloween coming up. I want to know what the best Halloween costume is that you've ever worn.
Okay. And see, this is another, I don't know if people are going to remember. So on Saturday Night Live years ago, there was the ambiguously gay duo.
Yes, I remember them.
Okay, guys, if you're watching this, go look that up if you don't know. If you're over 18. I don't know.
Yeah. Over 18. Look them up.
I don't know.
It's out there, I'm sure.
It was hilarious. Me and my best friend dressed up as ambiguously gay duo. We went to Walmart. We bought long johns. We dyed them blue.
Yeah.
The whole thing. And we did the motions, like where she would stand behind me.
Oh my gosh.
We need like photos of this. Like,
you talk about an investment.
Was hilarious.
I love it.
It was hilarious. So that is the funniest for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Final one for you today. What is the best advice that you have ever received?
That's a hard one for me. I think that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's something that I had to learn.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable most of my life, and that you can't let it paralyze you.
Yes.
Because you're going to walk through that discomfort and come out on the other side and say, okay, this is what I learned through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that the discomfort, whether it's in a workout or life
Mm-hmm.
or grief or any of those things, that like it is going to get better.
Yes.
Like the workout will end. Like you will come out on the other side of grief, like, where it gets easier.
Yeah.
And so for me, like that was the best advice of like, it's okay to be uncomfortable because it is temporary, so.
I think we lose sight of that.
Yeah.
Because we're in it and all we can think about is, how just crippling things can be.
Yeah.
Again, another really great fresh perspective. And it goes along with what you said earlier about pausing and just taking a moment to reference what's going on.
Yes, for sure.
And have that perspective about this will end. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Courtney, I love talking to you. As always, love talking to you.
I do too. Likewise.
Oh,
so good.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for sharing all of your tidbits and all of your wisdom, because there's some really, really great pieces that you give to your community and best to your business and everything that you're going to do beyond there, because it's going to be magical. I just know.
Thank you.
So you are so welcome. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you have an idea for an interview or you would like to share your very own story, shoot me an email at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. I hope that today's guest and their words have led you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story and every story matters.